You're watching Understanding Bigfoot. Why understand Bigfoot? Because we know they're real. Now let's start Understanding Bigfoot with your host, Mike Scott.
Okay, here we are once again, folks, of Understanding Bigfoot. Mike Scott with you, coming to you from my den in Cape Girardeau, Missouri, southeast Missouri, right on the Mississippi River, about 100 miles south of St. Louis. And we're here for another program. We've got our co-hosts with us tonight. Susan, good to see you back. You've had to miss a few programs because of travel and then illness, and
Yeah,
it's so good to see you back with us. And then, of course, Becky
right.
Pepper from Nacona, Texas, is here with us tonight as well. Welcome, Susan and Becky.
Thank
Good to
you.
see you
Good to be
guys.
back.
Good to have you back, Susan. I'm glad you're feeling better.
Thank you.
Susan's been out in California over the holidays and has missed some time, and then she got back in Cape, and she got back sick, and she's been sick for a couple of weeks, so she had to miss her last recording. Um,
Right.
Very
Right.
special guest tonight,
I came home with pneumonia.
Zeus Platt is here with us from out in Colorado, and Zeus. When I first got into this and started doing some recordings way back, a year and a half ago now, I guess, something like that, almost coming up almost 2 years. Um, I guess Zeus caught a glimpse of one, and he reached out to me and was very kind and very encouraging. And then I realized that this guy is on the cutting edge of Bigfoot research, and I started looking at some of his stuff, and he's over 30 years of field experience. And if you watched anything on his YouTube channel, Project Sasquatch, or the Facebook page, Project Sasquatch, he gets out in the field and he gets up close and personal, gets some good video and some good stuff. And and Zeus, first of all, welcome to the program. And I'm gonna
Hey, it's an
I'm
honor
gonna
to be
say
here.
this because we get a lot of positive comments on our channel, but people say to me, "I want to see video. I want to see video." And I say, "Well, that's not my format. My format is for people to come in like you, to come in and share their stories with us." And I said, "That's not my format." I said, "But if you do want to see good video," I said, "a good place to go to is Project Sasquatch. You'll see good video because that's where I go for good video." So we're glad you're here. We're going to talk about some of that video you get and some of the years of experience that you have up in the Rocky Mountains. So once again, welcome to the show, and we appreciate you taking your time and joining us. And why don't we just start out? Tell us what got you started in all this craziness. It was some 30 some odd years ago. What got you started?
Uh, as I said earlier, I grew up in a homestead log cabin with a dirt floor, and our grocery list was in the woods. We'd go, we need a deer, we need elk, whatever, fish. We go get them. We go get it from the woods. And my dad always used to tell me about the Sasquatch. He never scared me in that aspect. I never really paid attention. I'm like, yeah, Sasquatch, whatever. I'm too busy playing with crawdads and whatnot in the rivers and just, being with my pops all the time. Well, one day we decided we were going to take a camping trip up above Gateway, Colorado, which is canyon lands. And there's a little patch of mountains that sit out there in that desert by itself. It's a high desert, but it sits there by itself, a little patch of mountains. That's where we would go up at quite often. And we had an old suburban 4-door, big old truck, you know what I mean? And we all packed up in there. We were going to go do the little camping, dad, friends, drinks of beers, whatnot. But we were on our way up and very remote. Good luck seeing anybody. If nobody knows you're out there at that time, and it probably still is like that. Good luck, if you break down or hurt yourself or whatever. You're just not going to see anybody ever. Uh, you're lucky if somebody comes up within the week. You know what I mean? But so we went up and the suburban broke down, and I remember it was the fuel pump. It was the old school blah, blah, the old school fuel pump that goes under the side of the engine, and it's got the got the arm on it. It's not run off electricity. It runs off a rocker, And so that thing went out, and well, one of the guys, he was a mechanic. He has all that stuff, in his little work truck and whatnot. And we figured, well, they'll be up the next morning, so we'll just sleep right here on the side of this little dirt road, that goes up in there. And yeah, that's what we did. And I'm gonna say like 3 o'clock in the morning, give or take. If I remember right, 3 or 4 in the morning. I woke up because I felt the suburban, rock, kind of like a boat. Well, I woke up and at the side of the window in front of me, because we were laying like this, and right there in the side window, there's a huge black silhouette with glowing eyes, and scared the living hell out of me. And I just remember sitting up and getting a closer look, because I'm not registering, like
Right.
what's going on there too well. I just know it scared the living hell out of me. I just remember the feeling I had, and I remember I turned and looked like this into the other window just to see if there was anything. And there was two of them there. There was a little one just barely peeking over the window at me with its eyes glowing, and it looked like a medium one that was to the left of it, to the right of me. And I kind of yelped, screamed, scared the shit out of me. And as I did that, I just remember them going. They didn't just take off and just run straight through the woods, barreling through the woods like maybe a bear or an animal would do. It was very smooth. Just went down below the window and gone. My dad woke up, grabbed the 357. I was like, "What the hell is your problem?" And I told him what I'd seen. He said, "Relax, we'll be all right." And it took probably a good hour for me to go back to sleep. And um, finally, I got back to sleep, and I want to say it was like 9 or 10 o'clock the next day. I woke up, and the buddies were there, and one was had already worked on the vehicle and took that pump off and threw another one back on. And I remember them sitting there, and I remember seeing these footprints. They went right down the middle of that dirt road. The dirt was real fine, almost like ash, but it was just dirt. It was poofy, powdery stuff. It left very nice footprints. Of course, nobody had a casting material. Who's to say we were going to run into that? Everybody was too worried about going up, building a fire, and camping out and drinking
Now,
beers.
how old were you again?
Uh, 11 or
12?
12.
And
Yeah.
your first sighting here is basically within arm's reach of touching it if a car window is not in between you two. And
Oh, yeah, I could have reached right
yeah,
out and smacked him on the cheek.
and and you hit him on both sides of the vehicle, and your your dad was like, "No big deal, don't worry about it."
Yeah,
Yeah,
he'd seen plenty of them. He's seen, and he knows that there was no
right.
danger per se in his eyes. If it was a bear, he would have jumped out with the 357 and popped a few rounds in the air or the ground, chase it to get it to go away. Uh, but he wasn't really worried about it. He thought it was really cool, and they were looking at the prints the next morning. And one of the guys, I remember, he jetted down the mountain off the road to go follow the prints, because that's where they went. They went just down the road, and then they head off into the woods there. Then he went to go check it out, and I remember he come back up, and they were just chatting about it. And I remember telling, my dad was saying that I'd seen them standing by the car and whatnot, and they were chatting. I can't remember exactly what they were saying, but it was regards of that.
Yeah. So that did that spark the interest in? I gotta learn more about
Yeah,
what's going
big
on
time.
here.
Yeah, that hit home right there. I couldn't stop thinking every day. Just even now, I can see those
Yeah.
images in my head. And after I seen those first ones, I just as I got older, I started I started wanting to look into it more when I was able to kind of go into the woods by myself, efficiently. And boy, that sparked it, man. Because I was just like, what the hell were those? That was no bear, that was no elk, that was not none of the typical stuff that I see on a daily basis. And boy, that got my accept. I just remember that's all I thought of. Oh, constant. I was drawing little pictures and stuff of them, you know, and and then it
So you
just
were
kind of
11
took
and
off from
12 at
there.
that
And every
time.
time
So
we
did
go
you
get,
immediately start going and checking the woods out? Now, first of all, growing up, as you say, in the conditions you grew up in, I mean, there's a TV show out there that's popular on the cable channels called Mountain Men. But I think,
oh
but I
yeah, I
think
like that show.
what you're describing is you're a real mountain man.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
lived pretty remote. Yeah, it was crazy how remote remote I was. Because we didn't own the land. Nobody owned it. It was just this little log cabin, old homestead log cabin. My dad fixed it up, put a new roof on it. Said, "Oh, this is home," and I was like,
There you go.
"Cool." Now, I had a stove. It had the original stove in it, because whoever was there before, that thing was just
Yeah.
incredibly heavy to be moving out of there. So, and I just remember after I seen those first Sasquatch, I didn't venture that far into the woods by myself, but I do remember my dad telling me that he'd point at an X structure, and he's like, they did that, and he would point at different things, and hey, this is what they do. And I put two and two together after that happened. It was more eyes on the forest and less less crawdads and playing in the water. And I come to know now that Sasquatch are extremely infatuated with children, and that's one good possibility why they were all looking in the vehicle at us. It was me and my sister. My sister
Huh.
didn't see any, but they're super infatuated with children and females, human females.
So you go out now. You're going out, and you put these videos up all the time. You get out, and where you're going is a public area because, um, and like in myself, where I go is a public area because unless you've got permission to be on somebody's private ground, you don't want to get caught trespassing. But you're going out
Yeah.
and you're seeing, like in your area, various types of tree structures. Now, one thing I noticed where you're
Mhm.
at in the Rocky Mountains, the tree structures appear to be made with much bigger trees, and they appear to be much bigger structures than what I see in southeast Missouri. I see the same formations, the X's and the arches and the things like that,
Yeah.
but not near to the
Yeah.
extent. And Sean's got some pictures he'll drop into the program to show some folks in that. But is it because the trees are bigger out there? Because what do you think? Maybe a correlation on that?
Well, it's just every Sasquatch of all different types. There's many different types of Sasquatch. They're all basically the same.
Right.
It's kind of like humans. You got your European white people. Uh, Africans. You got your brown skin, black skin, yellow skin. You got all these different races of people. Everybody looks different. Everybody falls into the category of humans. It
Right.
goes the same way with Sasquatch, and they're all real territorial. There are mean ones and there are good There's mean Sasquatch and good Sasquatch, and those two that they don't get along. And I notice whenever I go into an area with the meaner Sasquatch, people disappearing, like the missing 411 case I was telling you about. It's just right up the road from me. Uh, there's more than just that little boy that ended up going missing up there. There's more people than that in that spot in that area, and you don't really find any structures when you're in an area where
You
there
don't
are bad
find any?
Sasquatch. If you go into No, you really
Okay.
don't find any structures. You might find a couple of breaks and stuff. And but when you go into the areas where there are good Sasquatch, you'll find structures everywhere. I found really unusual structures out here. I found like a tree that's been broke and then broke back down, almost making like a
Wow.
door frame, and with the tip stuck in the ground. I've got a picture of that. I don't know if
I
sent
didn't get
to you or
that
not,
one, but that's interesting you say that because you get all these different
Yeah.
Facebook pages out there, and Susan's got one, SEMO Bigfoot Encrypted Research Group. You have one, Project Sasquatch, and there's probably 100 others. People have Bigfoot related Facebook
yeah,
pages, and a lot of people will comment on those Facebook pages. They'll comment when somebody puts a picture up of tree structures. They'll say, "Oh, that means territorial marking. Keep out. Stay away." And that's contrary to what I hear from real researchers like yourself or some of the others we've had on the program. Um, or I figured out
Right.
myself by walking through those areas and nobody getting mad at me. Um, the so that could, but what you
They think
said
you
makes
want to
sense. If you run it, the aggressive encounters you've had have been in areas where there haven't been markings with the trees.
no,
But then when you
nothing.
get into the
Yeah,
areas with the
no
tree structures,
structures,
it's kind
nothing.
of chill. Welcome.
fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
And the encounters in those areas, because they start throwing up them tree structures, and that X structure, I'm beginning to think those X structures are, I'm beginning to think, are a symbolism for the good Sasquatch. Everything is a
They're all
theory.
theories, and
Nobody
we've had some
knows
people on here
exactly.
tell us it means welcome. The X means welcome. You see an X, it means
Right.
welcome.
From
Yeah,
Cantrell.
I
Mhm.
think it's a territorial marking for
Yeah, like you
what I
say,
was
the
talking
good
about,
one.
the
Okay,
good
it's okay to walk
Sasquatch.
through here. It's the
Yeah, and sometimes they don't want you in their area,
well,
even the good ones. But they don't go out of their way to be
right.
really mean. They do little things that's kind of scary to shush you off. Like up here at Twin Sisters. Oh Jesus, man, that was horrible. The guy who was with me, he don't even want to talk about it to this day. He don't even know what to think of it. He can't comprehend it. He don't want to talk about it. His my wife, um, his sister, my wife, she tried talking to him about it. He just puts his head down and walks away. I don't even want to talk about that. I told him when we went up there, I said, this isn't a joyride bundle of roses. This is serious going up here. You don't know
Right.
what they're going to do. You know what I mean? You don't know what's going through their head. Even some of the good ones can get a little aggravated with you, but shouldn't be as fearful as
Well,
the
they're going
bad
to
ones.
be
They can kind of,
protective of their young ones for one thing. They're going to be protective of their privacy, like anybody else.
exactly. It's kind of like just walk into a stranger's house over here. What's he
Yeah.
going to do? He's going to freak out on you. So,
Mhm.
and they're super territorial, man. They're so territorial. I mean, I could start finding their structures, and I'll go into that area. My cell phone starts, I get signal on my cell phone. Weird stuff starts happening. I got a radiation detector, EMF detector. I'll pull those out. Go into a structure, one of the TP structures, or even maybe an X or something. Sometimes I don't get anything, but other times I get really high radiation reading, or I'll get really high EMF readings, or my cell phone. Because all these places I go out here, I've got
Right.
no service, and on a lot of my videos, you hear my phone, bing. I get it, and then you can hear me say, "Oh wow, a cell phone signal." That's not surprising when you walk into an area with structures. It's like there's some kind of energy going on in there, and suddenly you've got full bars, and something to do with those structures or something. But I think that X is kind of a territorial beginning area. But there's many different types of X's. There's the top end X where they're kind of
Right.
crossed at the top, real wide at the bottom. You got your typical middle perfect X, and then you got your low end X, and they're sitting real low like this. But then they'll take the X's and they'll make an X, and I don't know what it means. It means something. It's a
Right.
visual language for them. But here's the X. They'll lay a tree on this part of the X, or they'll lay a tree in this side of the X, or they'll run one up to the bottom of the X coming up, or on this side. It just depends on where you're at. There's sometimes a lot of times there's nothing. There's a lot of other times you'll see a log laying in the X this way, or in one of those in one of those spots, and it's the same goes with the bends. And I've noticed bends, they seem to be pointing towards water, whether it be a spring, any kind of water source, and they'll be pointing towards that. And different areas where that bend is at, they'll lay a log, not to hold the bottom down, because a lot of times they'll throw a log here to hold that top down,
Right.
so it keeps that bend. They'll lay a log just on the top part right here, or you'll go to another area and there's a log laying here on this backside, and then right next to that there is a nice break right towards the pointed right towards the bend. And it's funny, I've got video when I was up on the other side of the Rockies up here. I think I was in Granby area, and I was like dumbfounded because I was explaining that on video, because I try to educate, and I try to present evidence, everything that they do. And all behold, there's 3 bends with a log on the front side of the bend, all 3 of them. It was like so obvious. And on the back side of the bend, there's a break on all 3 of them. It was just like, I was just like, there's the writing on the wall, man. There it is, right there in your face. And then people try to tell me, oh, microburst did that. Oh, we've seen this stuff that people built this stuff where we're at. They build this stuff up, and I'm like, yeah, okay. I mean, now you're insulting my intelligence. I know what nature does out here, and what people do, and what is manipulated by them. I know the difference.
I think you more so than me, but I can certainly tell the difference too. And people will comment, they'll say, "Oh, the weather did that," or "Oh, we did that all the time when we were kids." Well, you certainly didn't pick up 30-foot logs 8 inches around and set
That's
them
what
up
I'm
in different areas
saying.
when you were kids. I promise you. Yeah.
I mean, just last night I posted up a few pictures that I was rolling through my phone. I was like, oh, I don't think I shared these, and I may have. And there was this huge X. I mean, they were made out of, I'm guessing, 600-pound logs, heavy as hell. And there's this teepee thing, and you could tell the teepees when they're made by humans, or if they're made by Sasquatch, because Sasquatch make them, I call, dirty looking, real wide at the bottom, and they're real tangled at the top. And
you're talking about the teepees.
And then
yeah.
Yeah, they're real tangled at the top, and there's usually one log that's real that comes off of it and goes way out. Like, I don't know what's with that. And somebody got on there and told me that I faked that. I had built that to take pictures, and I said, if I manipulated these 600-pound logs into a neck structure, I am a seriously strong son of a gun. You know what I mean? I blocked him. That pissed me off. I was upset about it.
It would take you to put something like that together if you were doing it just to put a picture on the internet.
And it's like, what is it benefiting me? I don't do this to benefit myself. I do in knowledge. And why would I can't lift that log up there like that, let alone 2 of them to make this perfect X. And why would I go through that and kill myself in the middle of nowhere just to get a stupid picture and say it's a Sasquatch evidence when I it's like, that don't make no sense, because it doesn't benefit me. I didn't get rich, no millionaires didn't say, if you can get those 600-pound logs up there and take a picture, I'll give you $1 million. You know what I mean? I don't benefit from it. I do this and risk my life to educate the public and to educate myself. And I take people. That's my YouTube. I bring them on the journey with me to the evidence I present. And I get highly upset when people sit there and tell me, oh, it's a hunter. Yeah. Oh, it's something to do with weather, or it's this. And I was like, I know when all of this has been, I know if I run into something that's manipulated by nature or man. And you don't see any man manipulation at all. If you do, it's generally at a campsite, and they make this perfect little structure that comes down with logs on the side. You know what I'm talking about? And it's kind of leaned up on one side. Sasquatch will do those too out there in those woods. They mimic. Sasquatch will totally mimic humans. They watch what they do, and then they'll take that knowledge out there and they'll make a fire pit, but there's nothing burnt in it. And it's not your typical human fire pit.
What I've noticed This is just my speculation. You might have more insight on this. I've seen some very smaller, like TP structures, extremely much smaller. I think it might be
Hmm.
a place that a mother can put a baby and let the baby sit in there for a little while the mother goes in the general vicinity and does something to make sure the baby doesn't crawl off or roll away or something. But it could be
Yep.
something like that. But the
That's a possibility. I run into little teepee structure that are 3 foot tall, and that's kind of my only
I
explanation.
mean,
Maybe a young is stuffed in there, and mom says to stay here, and she goes and does her thing or whatever. You know what I mean? And if you stand at those, if you're inside the teepee and you look out, yeah, you could see everything. But if you're looking in, you
right,
can't see real
right.
well.
Hmm. That's
And most of
interesting.
the teepee structures that I find, like crazy, I got some crazy pictures of them, of different types. Some of them are real messy. Some of them are huge. And a lot of them are constructed right next to a game trail, and I get to thinking, are they using this to hang out in and wait for game to walk down, and they snatch them right there?
Very, very
I
well.
mean, because why else would they? Why else would they? And it's no hunter. There's no hunters. There's no
No.
hunting in that area that I'm up there. You have to
Can
travel
you?
quite a ways to go to
I
the
don't know if you've noticed or not.
hunting grounds.
Maybe some baseball, softball sized rocks in the vicinity too. Because we have evidence that they might be throwing rocks at some of these deer or turkeys or something like that as well in certain areas. But
Yeah,
um,
yeah. I the Sasquatch up here, they're small. I'm talking, 4 foot, 5 foot, 6 foot. The one comparison photo that I have that we were talking about, that one was seems to be, he was real skinny. I remember him being real skinny. Almost, he does. It's just not very big. He seemed a little taller than I was. And when they and I, as far as all those rocks and stuff go, I've seen areas where I walk up on, and there's all these rocks of certain sizes, and they're just, they look like they've
they're
been
on
put
top
there,
of the
and
they're on
like
top of
there's
the
30 of
foliage.
them. Yeah, and they're on top of the, well, up here in the forest. There's
You got
there's
the
a
needles,
needle
yeah.
needle bed. Yeah, everywhere. It's real hard to get footprints too, but you see a lot of impressions. But you'll just run into spots where it's like, oh, look at all these rocks. It's just been placed
Yeah,
right
yeah,
here, you know. And you look around and you're like,
yeah.
well, there's a game trail down there, and they could probably, how they like to throw rocks at stuff that they don't, if they don't want you around, and they'll mess with you and they chuck rocks at you. And I've seen a lot of spots like that, and I've seen a lot of spots like that right outside of campgrounds, little campgrounds up here. And I'll get to my wife. I said, there's a whole pile of rocks in an area to where if you were sitting here camping, you would never see anything over there, but you'd get
Right.
pelted by rocks. And if you do make your way that direction, they got a clean getaway without no visual sight of them in any way, shape, or form. And I laugh, and a lot of them are little granite, white granite or something like rocks. Am I saying that right? Is that the type of rock it is? They're white, and I laugh, and there's a whole, it's like 50 of these rocks laying in this little nice hidden strategic area where they could just pop up over this rock or whatever and go, and that's all they need is just a little spot, and then they're just messing with campers. And then I get in the camping area, and those same little rocks
Yeah.
there's some in the camping area. I said, oh, so they're throwing them from over here to over here. I'm like, oh, okay, they're messing with people, you know.
That's
Any of you
interesting.
two, Susan, Becky, you
Very
guys have a question or?
Um, I I have just an observation, I guess. Um, I watched a little bit of a couple of the short videos you had on your YouTube,
Hmm.
um, Project Sasquatch, and on the I
interesting.
guess it's the TP structure you were talking about, like where the top where there was a lot, the high, like the high end, in there. You had one on there. I don't know, where it was, but when I was in Colorado with my family on vacation, those were some of the structures I saw out in the middle of there. I don't think I saw any of the low ones, but the middle ones, and then where there were several all together and bunched up at the top when you had several tree structures coming out. And that's just fascinated me because it was out in the middle of nowhere where nobody would be. And so I remember seeing that when I was looking at your pictures and saying, I know, I know what that is. I actually saw some of those and it was very fascinating to me.
I've also got a video of I ran into a man-made teepee structure, and right next to that there was this obvious Sasquatch structure. They do things like that, and I got it on video, and I'm like, okay, right here, and this wasn't that far off the road, and there was a little campground. There's a trail that goes up to this little campground, but I wasn't too far off the road, but I was still seeing evidence that they were around. Oh, I came up on this man-made teepee structure, and I was making an example. I was like, oh, look at how clean this is, how tight the bottom is, how clean, and logs are they're just leaned up on the top. They're real clean, real tight. And then I laughed and I said, look at over here. Now here's another little teepee structure that's only probably about 4 foot high. I said, look at how wound in the top is, and it's real dirty, just dirty looking. It's not perfect. And I said, there you go. I said, they came in, they seen this, they mimicked a little teepee structure that was half that size over here on to the right, to the north side of that. And I said, there you go. That's a perfect example. Human, Sasquatch.
Side by side.
Have you ever seen?
Yeah.
Have you ever seen any in an area maybe where it was very steep for Sasquatch to be in, where they may have to climb, or have you ever seen anywhere, say it was right there by a stream of water, but there were like mountains up, pretty tall? Have you ever seen any like that in an
You mean
area
like
like
you mean like structures on the side of a steep mountain? Yeah.
Structures
Yeah.
like along the bottom of a stream, but the mountain's real high up.
The main structure that I find right by the streams, I don't find too much by the streams. If I do find a structure, it's usually a break or it's a bend pointing right at that stream. And there's another video I got where I was going up a very steep area, and I actually found there was a rock point that kind of come out going up the hill, and you would just naturally use that to pivot yourself to get up the side of the mountain. And there was these really good sized impressions of knuckles right in the corner in the dirt on that. And my niece pointed that out. She goes, well, it looks like somebody, and to keep in mind, there's nobody that goes up here. There's nobody but my crazy self that goes up here. Because you don't go up there unless you have a purpose. Right. I have a purpose. The tourists and stuff way down below, they only want to hit the trail. They want to go up, get pictures. They come back. They don't bother leaving trail. And but I was on this remote area, and I was climbing up the side of the mountain, and there was some breaks, but the only structures that I seen on that steep mountain, there were X's. They weren't standing like this on the side of the mountain. They were out like this. So if I got under it, the X spot would be right over the top of my head. Yeah, coming straight out from the mountain instead of with the slope. And those knuckle prints were very interesting. Again, I neglect to carry casting material on me. It's not a lot of times that I find impressions, hundreds of impressions of foot impressions. They're obviously foot, but they're not good enough to throw a cast on. If I don't see any toes, I just kind of don't bother, because you want to get a nice little cast, But those knuckle prints were castable, and I didn't have any material with me, and all I got was it on video, and I'm just like, like 1 in a million to find a knuckle or a handprint, you know.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
said I got it
Yeah.
on video, and my wife and some of my friends say you got to carry casting material. And I said, you know how much that stuff
Well,
weighs? I'm already carrying a bladder bag, a 10 millimeter on my chest, you
here's
know.
my deal, and I have a bad knee, so I decided I use a walking stick to navigate through the woods, and I do okay with that. But I, that's one more thing to carry. The casting bag is one more thing to carry, and then you have to
Yeah.
sit and wait for it to set up, or else you got to,
Mm-hmm.
you
At least.
come back and get it, one or the other. And
Throw a little salt in your casting material. It'll cure within a half
okay,
hour to an hour. Rock hard. Yep.
and
Oh,
and
okay.
Hmm.
On
and
the.
I'm just like, well, I just let others do that. I'm not going to cast, but that's the anyway. I want the you talk about I guess the good Sasquatch, the bad Sasquatch. I want you to maybe share an encounter that sticks out with you in a negative fashion where the Sasquatch was maybe a little bit more aggressive than you wanted him to be. If you can think of something.
Um, Back in Utah, that was a pretty good an example. I mean, most of the time, if you go into their areas, they start. The good ones will do this too, but not like the bad ones. They'll make you very sick. They'll make you very very disoriented. They must use an infrasound. I know they use infrasound, and they make you very cabobulated, sick, out of it. You don't know where you're going, and that's why you end up going missing because you end up traveling in a direction in the middle of nowhere, and you have no idea where you're going. And but they will start throwing things at you, and they will hit you with them. An example with my ex-wife, she got clocked right in the forehead with a rock,
Hence, she's an
and it
ex-wife.
hurt her.
I
God.
couldn't pass that up.
Yeah.
that's,
Gotcha.
that's funny.
Terrible.
You wanted
But
you
Oh,
wanted to you
we
wanted
were
to
we were
stake
out,
your
and it was,
wife out Bigfoot and let her get hit in the head with a rock.
yeah. Oh boy, it smacked her right between the eyes. It hurt her. I had to take her to the hospital, and she had a welt on her forehead, a knot, big one. And that was a malicious act towards me. I wasn't gonna get
Yeah,
it. Yeah, I'm gonna hurt you. And
mm,
I seen the rock come out of nowhere, like it come out
oh
of thin
wow.
air, and it smacked her right in the forehead. She just dropped down to her knees and just f this and f that, and who the hell threw that at me and blah blah blah. And I said, yeah, I know who threw it at you. What do you think's been going on here since we've been here?
Oh
I
my
said, you
goodness.
think that's just a bunch of people out there making monkey sounds and throwing shit at us or
and what
what?
do you want me to do about it?
Yeah, I said we're just gonna go. I mean, that was. I told her, so just gonna get in the car and we're gonna go because
Oh
that was
my
the last straw.
goodness!
They're getting kind of mean. And again, I was in an area and there was no
Right. I
no.
read an account of a. Oops. There's another feed. I read an
I hear
account
something.
from a Native American that said if they do hit you, they intended to kill you, is what this Native American said. Because they'll throw things and it will go right past you, land at your feet, go right by your head. But if it's a direct hit, then it was intentional. That's
Yeah,
what I heard. But,
yeah. That was malicious. That was mean.
right,
I meant to hurt you. And
right.
if you don't leave this area, that could be worse. Is
Yeah,
my impression. And
What do you think they are, Zeus? Do you think they're an ancient people? Do you think they're an animal? Do you think they're not of this planet? Have you seen anything that led you to believe one way or the other?
no, sometimes I've been in areas where I've been finding a lot of Sasquatch evidence and maybe even run into them. I run into them all the time. I'm always, and sometimes I miss them and I only see them with my eyes. And other times I've got them on video. A lot of my videos have got Sasquatch in the background. I don't know how to cut those videos out and, zoom in on it and show. A lot of followers will say, I can't believe you didn't see that. And I said, sometimes I don't.
Yeah.
But as far as the Sasquatch goes, or what I was getting at is those areas. Sometimes there's a UFO will fly by. I've seen it plain as day. It's either a ball, a
That.
chrome ball, or it's
Mm-hmm.
a flat type disc or a cigar
Yeah.
shape or something, and it'll fly by. And I've tried getting them on video before, but my camcorder, when you look at it, it's you can't really see it in the camcorder. The people are going to say, "Well, that's just a
Right.
bird," but with my
Right.
eyes, I could see plain as day. And
Yeah.
I don't think they work with extraterrestrials. They may. I don't know. It's just a theory. Uh, but I personally think they've been here for millions of years. They're an ancient being,
That's
and
what
they
I.
have for some reason human DNA, and it's really odd why they have human DNA like us, and that's really got the ticker going. About human evolution, how it could possibly we could be like an abomination off of them. The Anunnaki needed their slave race to mine gold, and they might have took extraterrestrial DNA and put it with Sasquatch and came out with us. And
Yeah.
we have half hair and half skin, and you know what I mean. The extraterrestrials
Right.
don't really have hair. The Sasquatch are full of hair, but
Hmm.
our hair is similar to the Sasquatch.
And it's
Except for
hair, not fur.
it's
They
yeah, exactly. It's
hair,
hair.
not
It's like
fur.
human hair,
Hmm.
but it's not fur, and
Right.
it doesn't have that medulla inside of it. So why
Right.
is it that we're so much alike them and share a DNA with them? I think something happened back there in the past there somewhere we don't know about, and I think they're an ancient being that's been on this planet. It's possible, I'm not going to say no, but it's possible that they could have came from another planet and made this their home
Yeah.
billions of years ago or something. Who knows?
It's hard to know, and I've been researching this 30 years. I mean, book knowledge. I've read almost 400 books now on this subject, and researching it. I don't have as much field research, and I'm older now. So, but the thing of it was, I would go to UFO conferences, and at the time, the UFO people didn't want to have anything to do with the Sasquatch people, and vice versa. Well, now it has become more blended, and they've had some speakers from the Sasquatch genre come into some of these things, and vice versa. And
Mhm.
it's just what fascinated me and got me started was I'm part Cherokee on my father's side. But the Native Americans talked about these creatures long before there was written history, long
Mhm.
before anybody could write a book or make a video or make any money off of it. And the Native Americans painted on their caves or whatever they did what they saw. They
Mhm.
didn't write fiction.
Mhm.
And it goes way, way back, like you said. I don't know. There's such an intellect. I believe they have a language. I
Yeah.
don't know what they are. But the thing that I would love, and Mike always say, I always tell Mike when we go out, I'm going to wear an adult diaper because, well, I already had a heart event. And I was like, oh, look, there he is, clunk. And that'd be the end of me. But that and wear an adult diaper in case you really do ever see one, because, but I always wonder why people don't try and speak to them. Now, I know Tom Cantrell is a great proponent of interacting verbally with them and has gotten a lot of great results, whether it's mind speak or just, motions or whatever. Have you ever tried to speak to them?
Yeah, I talk to them all the time. I
Hmm.
don't. I don't. I'll go into an area of where I'm starting to find evidence, and I do start talking to them. I tell them I'm a good human, and see, they when you're an individual who goes out there, if you have a dark past or maybe even kind of a dark intention back here somewhere,
Right,
uh, they're going to know about it,
right.
and they're not going to have anything to do with you.
Hmm.
And I'm a really good person. Sure I've done some screwed up stuff when I was younger. You know, I was kind of a shithead when I was younger. Was still a nice guy, but as I got older, you start that aspect of a good heart starts coming into play a lot better. You start gaining more knowledge, uh, and I have talked to him out there. I've heard him speak out there a lot. And
Really.
a matter of fact, one of the pictures, it's like you could see the Sasquatch. He moved behind some trees. It's like four pictures in a little collage. I don't know if I sent that to you guys or not. He was talking,
Mm.
and I had my phone up. I took a picture with the phone. I didn't have any equipment with me. I wasn't intending on Sasquatch and doing investigating that day. I was fishing, and I heard him talking in the woods. That typical. I call it. It sounds cavemanish or something. And he and I knew exactly what it was because I was looking at something that I thought they did, but nature did it. It's just totally
Mm.
natural what happened, and I heard that, and I whipped my phone up into those woods, getting ready to take pictures. And just a split second window, and I got four shots of them walking by, and I said, I was so excited. I came back. I think I was kind of pale and shooken up a little bit, and I was shaking. My wife says, are you okay? And I said, just got four shots, four pictures. I
Great.
said, there was one with me back there. And the way he was walking, he was kind of hunched over and he was walking like McGregor in the ring, just, like he was the stuff, man. And his arms, the way they swung, long arms, the way they were swinging, but he was only probably my height, probably a little bit wider than me, and I'm 6'3". And, I, uh, I also have I'm like half Native American myself. I'm Lakota, Sioux, Blackfeet, and Cree.
Mm.
And but when you were talking about that, I know the Native Americans will call them walkers of two worlds. There you go, that dimensional thing. They're a flesh and blood creature, but they know how to manipulate and energy around them. Being such an ancient being and living in such peace and I'm assuming most of the time peace. I'm sure they get into their squabbles or something bad stuff happens out there. I'm sure, but being so ancient and being around longer than a human has, they have developed consciously how to manipulate energy to do, to do these kind of weird things that they do. You know what I mean? I have a hard time explaining it, but I've seen it, and
I've heard a couple of them
And I
but
think
arguing with one another one time,
right.
and so
Hmm.
they
They
will
were
get in
yeah,
fighting over
squabbles, I
moonlight.
guess. And my
Yeah.
take on
yeah,
this
Have
situation
you ever
was
heard them talk back to you?
probably two young adults or older teenagers were in a disagreement about something. And you could clearly hear that, and then you heard a real loud um, grunt or humph, real loud, that overshot them, and they just shut up. And I imagine probably one of the adult males said, "Enough, stop it." And
yeah,
and
and
so you talk to them. You speak English like when you're speaking to us. You know,
yeah.
yeah,
I think most of the time they can understand that. I don't know how,
yeah.
but I really think
Good.
they do.
Have you ever heard anything back, or
No,
just kind
just
of
get wood
mutual
knocks, and
understanding?
yeah, it's just kind of a you get like I'll get like a wood knock, maybe rock clack. Maybe I hear a rock. You know, I hear a rock land in my area. I couldn't figure out what rock it could have been because there is rocks all over. Different things like that. But I'll tell them, I'm a good human, and I mean you no harm, as you should with me.
Yeah.
You don't harm me. I'm good. I'm out here. I tell them I'm out here just to learn. I said I just want to learn about you. As you do me, I'm sure. And I mean you no harm. And I chat with them while I'm out there.
So,
You know,
what's one of the most
I think that's
and then
great.
up close, friendly experiences you've had?
oh, there's been many, many, many. I didn't have one come up and you know shake hands with me or anything or nothing like that. It's more like if I'm talking to them, it's kind of a peaceful kind of yeah, you could feel it too. It's kind of on the peaceful side. Wood knocks, uh, little whoops, but not aggressive whoops, like whoop, real aggressively sounding. They'll just whoop, 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 do stuff like that, whistling at me, carrying on, But
Yeah.
it's on the low, end. It's nothing real loud. That's it doesn't seem like I want you gone,
Right.
kind of like I don't know. It's hard to explain. Am I making sense?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And
Mhm.
but it's more on the peaceful side in that aspect. So
You can kind of sense that. I
And
think
I think that
as far as coming from them, I've had hickory nuts thrown at me, and I didn't see that as being aggressive. I didn't see that as I
no,
because I thought, well, hickory, because they weren't being chucked, they were kind of looped and coming down and kind of a little looping like a slow pitch softball pitch or so, if you will, kind of an arch, and coming into the area. I thought, yeah, he's messing with us at that point. He's not really trying to say get out of here
mm-hmm.
before but there's a big difference between that and a rock coming at your face, from the
Mm-hmm.
speed of a baseball
Right.
pitcher. and, and,
yeah,
and,
just a straight
and
shot.
the
Tell him, Mike, about your
well,
girlfriend.
I've done the same. I've communicated and I've had communications back. The communications back are either in the form of owl calls or whoops or um, woos and different things like that. And it's um, you just feel such at peace with it, and that
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of a chill moment that I'm here. He or she is over there and not too far from me. Sometimes it's two or three of them within a little radius of you, and it's just a
Yeah.
kind of a neat feeling to have that. Now, I'm like you. I've
Yeah.
yet to get to the point where I'm shaking hands with them, but it's
I swear, I come pretty
you
close
probably
sometimes.
you probably have 30 something years out there now, and really, and for the audience, get out on Project Sasquatch and watch if you really want to see what a Bigfoot area looks like. Zeus will take you out there and he'll have his camera going and he'll show you the different structures and the different signs of evidence. And then while he's out there, usually you hear a knock or a whoop or something within the vicinity, um, that they're watching, and he can show you really what a Bigfoot area looks like, so that when you go out into the state forests or national parks in your area, you can look for the same things, and you'll probably see them. So that's a piece,
A lot of times it could save your life.
huh?
I'm telling you. Yeah,
Mm.
stop. I said a lot of the stuff that you could learn from me could
Right.
save your life out there. I'm serious
Well,
about it.
explain that
Uh,
even.
really
Explain what
could.
you're talking about there.
Well, a lot of the times, when I explain the difference
Right.
between good Sasquatch, bad Sasquatch, and whatnot, they can disarray you to where you don't know where you're going. You know what I mean? And you want to be careful of some of the areas that you go into. And a lot of people, I've had people, even the guys that I work with, oh, I know such thing as Sasquatch, and I personally get irritated about it. It's like, oh, it's like me telling them, oh, you've seen an elk. I don't believe in
Yeah.
elk. They don't exist. You're
Mhm.
crazy.
Right.
But when I show these people these kind of things, it's you being educated and understanding the woods and understanding what is there and the signs of the Sasquatch or maybe one of the others, and it could actually like save your life, because if you're out there and you get discombobulated, okay, one of the things I say, you get discombobulated while you're out there, turn around and head back to the trail, go down where you came from. Like it's imperative that you do that. I mean, because
Yeah.
you're gonna end up missing, and nobody will ever see you again, possibly. And it's just knowing the areas and knowing what you could be dealing with while you are out there in the woods, and how they are acting. If it's more on the peaceful side, let it be peaceful, but just you want to leave them alone. Have your little encounter, do your little thing, but then you want to leave them alone. You don't want to press your luck. Yeah, no.
Right.
Versus if you were around something that was being very aggressive, don't hang out. Just leave right away. You don't want to mess
Well,
around.
my take is, I
Mhm.
know where I'm at over here in southeast Missouri, and I'll take people out when I get a chance to that are oblivious to this, and that they would have just thought 100% myth, but then they find out what I do and they know
Yeah.
me and they think, well, okay, I'll go out with you. Yeah, I take them out during the daytime, and I'll take them to areas I know that they travel, so we probably would see footprints. I can pretty much take anybody to certain areas and almost guarantee footprints. And sometimes we can even track them for several yards, and I can show them that, and they can see that okay, there's nobody, no human with a 17-inch foot going to be walking barefoot in Missouri in January, and with a 17-inch foot, and you start showing them evidence, tree structural evidence and different. You show them how this tree could not have been done by the weather, and how would a man had to, he would have had needed heavy equipment to do it. Well, where's the heavy equipment? It, you know,
Mm-hmm.
where'd that come from? And you start showing them those things, and they start seeing that. But then
Mm-hmm.
we get out of those areas before dark. That's their woods
Yeah.
at night.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll go up and we'll have a common place.
Nightfall
We'll have a
comes.
common
Yeah. Nightfall
Yeah, we'll
comes.
have a
Watch
common
out.
place in the wildlife area, like a parking lot or something like that. We'll build a fire and we'll sit around, we'll talk, and then the curious ones will come in fairly close to us and give us some interactions. But
Yeah.
I'm not going after them
Mm-hmm.
at that time. You know, respect the space.
Nope. Nightfall.
Respect the space.
Be careful.
We we we
Oh man.
we don't want
Oh
to do what they
man.
do in these TV
Oh.
shows, do we?
No, I don't do too much nighttime investigations. I'm smarter than that. Other people
Yeah.
do it.
Right.
That's fine. They find some good evidence, but I don't press my luck. I've got a respect for these guys, and nighttime falls. Guess what? That's more of a cripple on my side. I can't see into the dark. I
Mhm.
can't. There's I'm armed and I'm not going to shoot them, but if one came at me was going to on the aggressive side, he was going to do something to me. I'm going to have to. I got to
Right.
save my own life. But nighttime, I'm still in the process of trying to get a FLIR. I wouldn't mind going out there with a FLIR. I'll bet you I'll find a lot of stuff with a FLIR camera. I just need to
Probably
get my
so.
hands on one. I almost guarantee I find that much stuff during the day and see that many
Right.
Sasquatch during the day. Think what I could do at night when they come alive. Oh boy, they're
Very
crazy
true.
at night.
Very true.
Mhm.
About how often do you go out on a weekly basis?
Oh, I'll go out every say I have 3 days off for my job. I'll go out on the days that I'm off. I go out just about every single day. No matter now that I
Oh,
think about it. And then there's I'll go out one day like if I get off work at like 3 o'clock,
Mhm.
I'll go out for a couple of hours because that's all I need. And I'll go out for a couple of hours and I'll find that evidence and I'll start getting vocals and uh, I've learned how to read the land. I've learned to read the types of trees. I've learned to read the shadowing from the sun on the mountains. What shadow, which side's lit up, the water, where the springs are, how the game are moving. I do all of that. I integrate all of that in finding these guys, and it doesn't take me long. All I got to do is get into an area. If it's a new area, and I'll point right where they're sitting, and I'll be damned if I go up in there and I'm just getting all kinds of action. My wife's seen them several times, trailing me because she can't get up in the woods like me, and she'll stay down by the vehicle, and she's seen him on all fours taking off after
On
me
all
going up the
fours.
trail. And you hear me on the video say, I'm being followed. And I keep looking back and I cut, radio my wife. I said, oh, hell, I'm being followed. And it's not by your typical wildlife. And she goes, yeah, I just seen it run past this ridge. I could just see the back of the head and the back, and it was on all fours. And it's happened several times. And I said, oh, man, I got to throw him off
Good
somehow.
luck with that.
Yeah, I know. The
Wow.
only time I would throw him off was when I was at Long Peak. I was kind of in the area where I got that comparison photo. My wife witnessed one of them come up to a tree just below the tree with a smaller tree and took that tree and was shaking it the hell out of it, and it was whipping like this. And I had went up the ridge. I was done up there. I was probably up there a couple 100 yards or more already, maybe a quarter of a mile, and I started feeling like I was being followed. We lost radio communication, and I got up there, and it was following me. It would truck with me. It just stayed behind me, out of sight, but it was there. I said, "Oh, okay, I got to lose this guy. He's on my tail end, and I don't know what his intentions are." And so I knew Long Peak Trail was probably a mile back down the ridge this way, heading north. I said, "Well, I'm going to hit that trail, and that'll make him stop. Now he won't go past that trail. Not in the daytime. He's not going to go past that trail. They're not going to put themselves in that situation where they're going to go down and pass that trail and now have humans on the backside and humans on the front side from where that trail loops around. They're very militaristic the way they think." So I made my way down to that trail. Oh, he was coming after me. He was following me. And I was a bit nervous. And I said, shit, man, I got to get rid of him. Finally found the Long Peak Trail. And I looked back and I stood in that trail and I looked back and I said, this is going to do it. I'm not dumb. I know how you work. And I walked down the trail about 100 yards and then I cut off. And when I cut off and continued down the ridge in the mountain that way, he stopped. He didn't follow me anymore. He got to the edge of that trail up there somewhere. He didn't bother going past that trail. I got down there a ways and I'm like about another half a mile. I was like, I think I lost him. Took a deep breath. Said, he's not behind me anymore. I hear nothing. And made my way back to the vehicle. And that's when my wife said, I just watched one chase you up there. And I said, that's funny because if you watch the video that I just made, I was being followed. I kept saying it the whole time. Damn it, he's right on my ass. I gotta lose him. I don't know what he's up to. And she goes, well, I seen him come up and take that tree by that little creek, shake the hell out of it, and then she just see the back of the head and its back cruising up on the south side of that ridge, trailing me.
Your wife shares the hobby with you.
Oh yeah, yep. Oh yeah. It was when we met years ago, 7 or 8 years ago now. I want to say she didn't not believe in Sasquatch. She knew they existed. She's never seen one until she got with me. She didn't know what to think. She thought she completely obsessed with them now, and she never seen one until she got with me. And she told her mom the day she seen one, I can't believe what I just seen. This She called it this like hominid hairy caveman dude or something, she said. And it was following Zeus up the mountain, is what she said.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you do any type of habituation or gifting?
I don't gift food. That's a mistake. That's a horrible mistake.
Mm-hmm.
That's not good. I'll gift them sometimes toys. I'll like the last gift I gave him was a little froggy that had a solar panel on its back, and during the day it would gather the energy, and then at night its eyes would light up. And I left it on top of one of their structures, and a couple of days later, that froggy is gone.
Hey,
Never
those
found
little cat
Never
balls.
seen it again.
Those little cat balls
Yeah.
that will light up on touch. They love those things.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I bet they do. And the color blue, I don't know what it is with them and blue. They love blue. Now, if you walk out there and you're wearing a bright red shirt or bright red backpack, you may not have a very friendly encounter. They don't
Really?
like it. I don't know why.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've
David
made that
Sanger
mistake.
says he says when you're walking in a group and don't be at the back of the group. And he said a lot of people that have disappeared have had on red.
Yeah, they don't like it. I
Hmm.
learned the hard way myself. I had some get pretty aggressive with me. I had to turn around because I was I was wearing a red Christmas shirt, and they didn't like it when I went out there with that on. And I tell people if they come out with me, I said, don't, no red, no red backpacks, no red shoes, no red shirts. If anything, wear blue. That it really attracts them. They like that blue
So
color.
interesting. Yeah,
Hmm.
it's very interesting.
Interesting.
And I think I'm wondering the bad Sasquatch. I've noticed their eyes glow red if they're
Hmm.
mean. I mean, I don't know about other areas clear up where you're at. I just know up around here, Utah, and just this whole western part of the United States where I've investigated Montana. Because I've seen Sasquatch, like up here, Sasquatch Mountain, their eyes at night will glow orange, and they're real short Sasquatch. They're not even as tall as I am, and their eyes glow orange at night, and they glow white during the day. Like the one picture of the Sasquatch, I
Yeah.
actually got him on video. He looks like a little silverback gorilla, half man, half silverback, and their eyes will glow like light blue colors. I've even seen them green
I've heard of the green,
colored.
the red. I've only seen the kind of an orangish yellow. I've seen that a few times.
Yeah, and
But
those are the
I'm
good
glad.
Sasquatch. Every time you encounter, I've noticed. Yeah, I've
I'm,
noticed. I've noticed when I encounter one and with those color eyes, they
well,
really don't give me much
I was
shit.
pretty close to them,
They'll
so I'm
encounter.
glad those are the good ones. So
Yeah, they'll interact with you a little bit in a positive way. But the ones that I've had very kind of aggressive stuff happen, their eyes were glowing red, and it was those guys that were just. And I just put two and two together. I said that's
it,
got to be
yeah,
the bad ones, the mean ones.
could be something to
Hmm.
that. I don't know, but the
Yeah,
but yeah, that anyway. Ladies, any final questions? Any final words for Zeus? Well, we won't hold him too long.
No, it's been fascinating. Fascinating.
Yeah.
I've learned some very new things, which is great.
that's
I've
awesome.
learned, yeah, I've learned some new things too. It's fascinating listening to you, Zeus, and your stories and
That's just a very
encounters.
small amount what I'm
But
talking about tonight too. I have so
but
much
I'm
more to
telling you
tell.
guys,
Well,
and go to his channel, Project Sasquatch, and watch some of those videos, and he'll take you out into the field, and he will show you basically what he's. I mean, he'll explain it. He'll explain the tree structures. He'll
hmm.
explain the area, and so everybody out there watches and says, "Boy, I wish I could go find an area to look at. I wish I could do this. I wish I had a place to go." Go to an area around you and watch his videos and see if you can see similar things. And that's the start of finding the evidence to see if whether or not they're in your area. And Zeus is on the cutting edge of that, and has been doing this a long time. Um,
In your area, if
it's
you're
okay.
sorry to interrupt you, just like for the audience, like up here, I primarily got pine trees. You know, blue spruce, Douglas fir, lodgepole pine. They love lodgepole pine. They make the hell out of structures out of those. In your area, while you're learning and you're investigating, pay attention to the way the sun hits the mountains. Pay attention to the trees. Somebody has a sighting, go look in that area and figure out what's a primary tree that grows in that area, and figure out where you start to see evidence. Where if you start to see a lot of evidence, pay attention to those trees. Pay attention what type of trees they are, and figure out, oh, okay, well, it's, I don't know what type of leafy tree or something. You know, it always seems to be maybe something like that. Maybe in your area, you know, if you're out and you're like, oh, I find a lot of structures made out of this particular tree. But pay attention to the trees, the type of trees. It's very important. The type of trees and pay attention to game movement, and you're going to start seeing stuff, and you're going to start figuring out where those structures are and where they're hanging out, and you're going to be pretty amazed. Just start paying attention, and all the little breaks. Pay attention to that, and determine if that was done by a deer or a Sasquatch. You'll just notice patterns. Just pay attention and just catch on.
It's so
Zeus, we're
great.
so appreciative
It's
that
so
you took
great.
some time out
Thank
to
you.
join us this evening on Understanding Bigfoot. And that's what we want. We want people to get an understanding of who Bigfoot or what Bigfoot or Sasquatch is. Um, and I think you helped us out a lot tonight by educating us on a lot of things in that area, because we're not questioning the existence. Well, five of us, counting Sean, the producer, know that, um, and
Yeah.
so we're hopefully took that next step. If you feel free to comment. If you have questions for Zeus, leave comments on the show as it appears, and we'll be glad to get it, and we'll get you back on sometime. You go out, get some more new evidence. We'll get you back on, and you'll come back, won't you?
I like that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
You
absolutely.
need to
I'll
write a book.
come on
You
and
need to write a
we'll
book.
talk about any new stuff. I know this spring I've done some scouting. I go to areas and I glass out, figure out the type of trees, the landscape, the slopes, way the sun is going to be, where it hits during the winter time.
Great. We love to talk about it.
Wow.
Well, we've got to get you to come back on and share with us, because we've just an hour, a little over an hour, we scratched the surface of what's going on with what you're doing out there, and so we'll definitely have to come back and do it again. And it's certainly been a pleasure having you and getting you on the program. I look forward to continuing to learn from you from a distance through the mediums of YouTube and Facebook and so forth. And we certainly appreciate your time, Zeus.
Thank you.
And we're glad Susan can make it back.
Nice to
She'd been out for just about 3 or 4 programs in a row because of
Yes.
travel and illness. And glad to have you back, Susan, and Becky, as always. So,
Thank you.
folks, we've got a lot of shows coming out. We got a lot of things in the hopper. We'll be putting out probably weekly shows for the next couple of months anyway, as we try to get to the bottom of understanding Bigfoot. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.